From the 1960s to the 2010s, we've got the best rivalries of the NBA. And we've even listed the most heated and exciting rivalry of today. So watch until the very end to find out who it is. The 1960s. The 60s. Remember that? Me either. But let me tell you, the NBA in the 1960s was rougher, tougher, smaller, and less visible than in almost every subsequent decade. However, it may have been the best basketball decade of all time, especially for rivalries, like our first on the list. Chamberlain versus Russell. You'd think we'd start off with teams, right? Well, back in the day, these two athletes were built like entire franchises in themselves. During the NBA's early heyday, Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, two legendary titans of the league, went head-to-head for much of the 1960s. Chamberlain was the best player in the league at the time, averaging 50.4 points in 1962, 27.2 rebounds in 61, and 48.5 minutes per game in 1962. Russell was a dominant rebounder, peaking at 24.7 per game in 1964, but his career high, 18.9 points per game in 62, in comparison to Chamberlain's numbers, seemed pedestrian. Despite the disparity in scoring ability, Russell's Celtics were the dominant team of the era, winning 11 titles over a 13-year period and frequently shutting out Chamberlain's Philadelphia Golden State Warriors, Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. In their 1967 playoffs, Chamberlain was finally able to defeat Russell and the Celtics. After Russell retired, Wilt won his second championship with the Los Angeles Lakers in 1971-72. Celtics versus Lakers. The Lakers and Celtics also had a history that predated Chamberlain's arrival in 1968-69. The Celtics defeated Jerry West and Elgin Baylor's Lakers in the finals in 1962, 1963, 1965, 66, and 68. Even with Chamberlain, they lost to Boston again in 1969. It was an acrimonious rivalry for the Lakers, who finally broke through with a championship victory over the New York Knicks in 1972. The 70s, Los Angeles Lakers versus New York Knicks. The 70s were a decade of equality. Without a true super team to lead the way, the period would be dominated by 8 different champions, the most diverse group of winners in NBA history. However, the Los Angeles Lakers and New York Knicks came the closest, competing for supremacy in 1970, 72, and 73, with the Knicks winning 2 of the 3 titles. Walt Frazier and Willis Reed led the first championship run, which included the famous Game 7 in which Reed entered from the Madison Square Garden tunnel after suffering a torn thigh muscle earlier in the series. The Lakers, led by Wilt Chamberlain, Gail Goodrich, and the logo himself, Jerry West, responded in 1972. They had one of the league's best offenses, and the Knicks had one of the league's best defenses. Los Angeles easily defeated New York in 5 games. The Knicks, led by Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, and Bill Bradley, returned the favor in 5 games in 1973. The decisive Game 5 would be Chamberlain's final appearance. The best rivalries of the 1980s. The NBA was plagued by major issues. Drug use among players was thought to be widespread. On game nights, many arenas were half empty, or worse. The majority of franchises were losing money. Luckily though, Eagle Eye fans would stay for the rivalries. Lakers versus Celtics, Magic versus Bird. The Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics have one of the most storied rivalries in the NBA, dating back to Jerry West and Bill Russell in the 1960s. In the 1980s, both teams dominated their respective conferences, reigniting the rivalry. The Lakers appeared in 8 NBA finals, while the Celtics appeared in 5. 3 of them were head-to-head contests, with the Celtics taking the first in 1984 and the Lakers taking the next 2 in 1985 and 1987. The heart of that rivalry dates back to the 1979 NCAA Finals when Earvin "Magic" Johnson of Michigan State defeated Larry Bird of Indiana State. Magic versus Bird soon after helped make the NBA a national sensation. Johnson went on to win 5 NBA championships as the heart of the Lakers' Showtime era in the 1980s. Bird was a lethal assassin in the league, leading the Celtics to 3 titles. The 1990s in the NBA. This era was known for its tough, rugged play, with frequent hard fouls and physical play, and who can forget Michael Air Jordan. Heat versus Knicks. In the 1990s, the Knicks were the most tenacious NBA team. After facing the Chicago Bulls in 5 of the previous 6 postseasons, they were finally on the verge of becoming up next, only to be met by a new foe, the Miami Heat. Without a doubt, the Bulls and Knicks were physical. The Knicks and Heat, on the other hand, went all in. It all began with head coach Pat Riley. Riley defected to Miami after leaving the Knicks following their finals defeat in 1994 and Eastern Conference semifinals loss to the Indiana Pacers in 1995. With him by their sides, the two would meet in 4 consecutive postseasons, the most notable of which was a massive brawl in 1997 that resulted in multiple suspensions. In 1999, the Knicks were an 8th seed before defeating the top-seeded Miami Heat on an Allen Houston buzzer beater to start their run to the finals. But the most memorable matchup came in 1998 when bitter rivals Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning got physical, resulting in shoving, punches, and the infamous image of Jeff Van Gundy helplessly clinging to Mourning's legs. Bulls versus Knicks. Is it possible for a rivalry to be one-sided? It was in this instance. Jordan defeated the Knicks in each of his 5 postseason meetings with the team, putting on some of his best and most memorable individual performances in front of the Madison Square Garden crowd. But the Knicks were unstoppable, led by the overachieving and undersized John Starks in the backcourt. In 2017, when asked about defending Jordan, Starks said, "You'd get the scouting report and it would basically say, 'Good luck.'" Starks was one of the best backcourt defenders in the game, never backing down. His tireless motor forced Jordan to be at his best and pushed the Bulls to some of their most memorable performances. Though Starks only defeated the Bulls once in 1995, while Jordan was on his way to Birmingham, he did his fair share of counter punches at Jordan's expense, most notably his vicious dunk over Jordan and Horace Grant in 1993. The 2000s, Washington Wizards versus Cleveland Cavaliers. Mutual respect was not present in the Cavs-Wizards rivalry, which met in the first round 3 years in a row from 2006 to 2008. These were the early days of LeBron James's career when he was still answering questions about his ability to win playoff games. The Wizards were never on his level, but they did engage in a lot of trash talk. The most memorable moment in their rivalry was when Deshaun Stevenson called James overrated during their 2008 meeting. James declined to respond. Then, Jay-Z recorded a Wizards diss freestyle, which a DJ played at a popular DC club frequented by Wizards players. As a result, the team boycotted the club. This was an innovative rivalry. The absurdity of it would have thrived in the social media era. The 2010s ultimate rivalry, Cleveland Cavaliers versus Golden State Warriors. Before the Cavs and Warriors met in the finals 4 years in a row, no teams in any major American professional sport had ever met in the finals 4 years in a row. Each meeting represented a distinct chapter. Golden State won the first 6 meetings against a Cleveland team that was missing injured stars Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. In 2016, the Cavs rallied from a 3-1 deficit to defeat the 73-win Warriors, and Kevin Durant helped Golden State to convincing victories in 2017 and 2018. Modern era, the biggest rivalry today. Milwaukee Bucks versus Boston Celtics. When it comes to the most heated current NBA rivalries, the Celtics and Bucks must be mentioned. We think it's the biggest rivalry to this day. This is a rivalry with a long history dating back to an exciting series of games in the 1974 NBA Finals. A series of playoff games in the 1980s solidified the rivalry, which has continued into the modern era. Of course, the fact that both teams play in the Eastern Conference and have been vying for the top spot in recent seasons fuels the fire. Much of the edge these teams currently have comes from the sheer physicality on display. Games between these teams are never short on drama, whether it's Giannis Antetokounmpo charging through contact or Marcus Smart using his body to disrupt the Bucks' offense. As a result of all of this, the Bucks-Celtics rivalry has recently taken off in the NBA. It's too bad Jimmy Bucket stopped the 2023 showdown between the two teams. I would have expected both teams to add fire to this rivalry. Did we miss anyone? Who's your favorite rivalry of the past? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.